if you haven't been following me for a while, you may not know all of the things that I offer. So I am a fitness coach, a certified personal trainer. I am a nutrition coach, a weight loss specialist, a feminine wisdom mentor, and an emotional wellness coach. And my specialty is shadow work. I love the subconscious, the depth of it, how it creates for us, and I love bringing things into our consciousness so that we can be more empowered creators. All right, so let's talk about conflict resolution, because everybody wants to resolve conflict within themselves and between others. And there's a process that I teach my clients and also in my coaching courses that will guarantee you resolution, whether the resolution is with another person or by yourself, because sometimes you can't get that resolution that you want with another person, but you can get it within yourself. You do not always need the other person to be accountable. You don't always need the other person to acknowledge or apologize. Sometimes you got to resolve it within yourself, and I teach. Now, just because you're good at resolving conflict doesn't mean other people will be. It doesn't mean they will jump on the bandwagon with you, but this will lead to a healthier, happier life for you, right? And that's what this life that you have is all about. Is you living a healthy and a happy life. Other people have to choose it for themselves, right? I want to talk about the types of awareness. And for the intents and purposes of this teaching, let's say there are two types of awareness. There's a contracted awareness and there's an expanded awareness. Now, you may be able to tell already by the verbiage that one is going to be beneficial usually and one is not. Okay. So which one do you think is going to be the most beneficial, the contracted or the expanded awareness? Just intuitively. The contracted awareness is going to be the most limited. And the great majority of people, when they experience conflict or some kind of challenge, they move into a contracted awareness because we have not been taught how to expand our awareness. We've been taught rules, we've been taught boundaries, paradigms, and structures, and all of that contracts. We need them. But the truth is, if we don't know how to come out of them, then we remain limited. And so we understand already that we are not separate from the rest of the universe, and I'm not even separate from you. We are a field of continuous energies, right? But our senses give us this illusion that we're separate, but really my energy is flowing with the rest of the air and the rest of the stuff. We just differ in the frequency. Okay, so the frequency of a human is different from the frequency of a sofa, and the frequency of you is different from the frequency of me, or the frequency of a dog is different than the frequency of a bird. You see what I'm saying? We're a field of continuous energies, but our frequencies are different, and we have these senses to pull the frequencies into something that makes sense, and we got this brain that helps us experience it all. Okay. That's important to understand, because if you understand that you are not separate from the universe, you will understand that you are a part of the universe. You are an extension of the universe, and the universe is an extension of you. Like my arm is an extension of my axial skeleton, my central body. My arm helps me reach things that I could not reach otherwise. In other words, the universe is an expanded part of you, an appendage, okay? And so we want to expand as much and as often as possible so that all of the universal possibilities, all of the universal truths can extend to us. And what happens is when we resonate according to our true vibration, which is a universal vibration, it means we resonate with truth. It means that we experience a sense of wellness, a sense of alignment, a sense of harmony. We experience disharmony when we do not resonate with the universe, okay? So for example, if my brain is telling my arm to move, but my arm is not moving, there's a problem. There's something that is not aligning, okay? In the same way, when you are not resonating with the universe, there's this out of alignment that happens, and you sense it within your being, within your frequencies, as discomfort. Does that make sense? Discomfort could be depression. Discomfort could be anxiety. Discomfort could be some sense of sadness or overwhelm or anger, whatever. When we flow in resonance with the universe, we experience peace and contentment and wellness. Okay? Then depending on what's going on, we might feel excited, right? Or elated or blissful. But when we resonate with the universe and universal truth, we are in alignment within our being with the extension of who we are, and we experience wellness. That's important. Does that make sense? Because I'm trying to tell you, teach you, demonstrate, right, why expanded awareness is to your benefit. Okay, it does not benefit you to contract, because that makes you not resonate with universal truth, and the experience is some type of hardship. Now, are we trying to escape hardship? No, I'm not inviting it, but we're not trying to escape it either. What we are doing is resonating with universal truth. That's important. I want you to catch that, because some people are living trying to avoid hardship. Some people are living trying to avoid. You hear that? They're trying to avoid. They're trying to prevent. They're trying to get away from. That's contracted. That's important. That's different from living according to universal truth, because we're evolving, because we're shifting and becoming the next iteration of ourselves. We're not trying to avoid anything, because our focus is on the becoming. That's important. Does it make sense? We're not living life trying to avoid discomfort, because the discomfort is necessary. Pleasure is necessary too. What we are doing is aligning with universal truth for the sake of evolution. That's different. I'm not trying to teach you how to avoid negative people. That's unrealistic. I'm not trying to teach you how to avoid conflict. I'm teaching you how to expand into the divine nature that you are. Every day we have opportunities to expand. Me too. Okay? So we're going to expand in pleasure. We're going to expand in pain. We're going to expand, period. Some people are not following that. Some people are contracting with every experience. Anytime they feel pain, they contract. I don't want that again. I'm scared. That's not where we're going in this audience, okay? This train is going into expansion, because we're brave, because we trust universal processes, because we understand that we're here to evolve, because we understand that we're not just this human suit, but we're a divine being expressing through this human suit, because we understand that we are unlimited potential, because we understand that we are unlimited creativity, because we understand that we are an extension of the universe. That's why we're doing what we're doing. We're not living to avoid anything. I'm not trying to avoid anybody's opinion. I'm not teaching you how to do that. I'm not teaching you how to avoid being abandoned, or avoid being misused, or avoid being manipulated. I'm not trying to teach you any of that, because that's not useful, because you're going to live in avoidance. And where's your expansion? I'm trying to help you come into expanded awareness. I'm going somewhere with this, but I got to drive these points home, because they're the foundation of your spiritual existence that leads to a healthier and happier life. A lot of what you see being projected and taught out is about avoidance, how to avoid narcissists, how to avoid energy vampires, how to avoid, but I want to know, do these people know how to create any pleasure? Do they know how to choose anything healthy? Do they even know what healthy looks like? I mean, they've become experts at what negativity looks like, and they want to avoid it, not even transmute it. But do you know how to create something beautiful, something lovely, something blissful, a life that you're happier with? Well, you do that in challenge and also in pleasure. Ashe? If you understand all the things that I just said, when conflict comes your way and you begin to experience anxiety or some type of turmoil or turbulence within yourself, You can take heart. You can remember who you are. Number one, I am the divine, expressed in human form as VeronicaMarie. That's why I term that VeronicaMarie, the deity. I am a deity being expressed. And so are you. And so are you. What is a deity? A divine being. You are a divine being localized and expressed as you. The divine being that you are is unlimited creativity. You forget that or you don't know it, but I'm here to remind you and tell you. You thrive. You need to remember these things because you got to become the type of person who can resolve conflict. The type of person who can resolve conflict has this type of mind. Sometimes I come on and I tell you what to do. Today, I'm trying to show you what you need to be. Okay? Because I could teach you a lot of concepts, but if you don't resonate with them in your daily existence, you're just going to forget. And you're going to go back to your default process. So I'm here to remind you who you are, okay? You are the divine, localized. When I say localized, divine has no time and space. But divine chooses to become localized with attention and a brain and thought processes and experiences. Localized. My body right here can only be right here, localized and expressed as you. If you want to come into more of your divine nature, you're going to have to practice an expanded awareness. Okay, I'm going to talk to you about what that means, but I'm driving this home. You got to know that you are the divine expressed as you. Say it. I am the divine expressed as me. Okay, say that out loud. Type it. Because we have to acknowledge this to move on. Because if you don't think you're the divine, then I'm not sure what you think you are, just a human. And if so, you're very contracted. Because this human body is about contraction and localization. I can't see through the wall. I can't see what's going to happen in the next 5 minutes. If you think you are only human, then your creative capacity is greatly diminished. And I'm not talking to you. I'm talking to the people who have a knowing, an inner knowing that they are the divine, or they're coming into that inner knowing. I am the divine expressed as me. And it comes through me too, but expressed as me. And what is the nature of the divine? The nature of the divine is creative, unlimited creativity. That means you thrive in uncertainty. We set in the foundation. That means you thrive in uncertainty. That doesn't mean you always happy in uncertainty. It doesn't mean you're always comfortable in uncertainty. It doesn't mean you're never afraid. But it means you thrive there. And you have to know that about yourself. You have to know that about yourself, because uncertainty is the lay of the land in this time, space, reality. You gotta remain, expanded. You gotta remain expanded. Expanded is remembering who you are. You thrive in uncertainty. That's what you do. You also thrive in certainty as well. That's not the only thing you do. But here you need to remember that uncertainty is the lay of the land, and you are here to evolve. You are the divine expressed as you, and you thrive in it. Why do you thrive? Because you know that you are unlimited creativity. Because you know that you have unlimited potential. You might not be able to see it because you're localized, but you know it because you are the divine. Okay? You might not see it because you're localized. You might be saying, I don't see how this is going to work out. But because you know that you are the divine, you understand that it must work out. Now, the question is, what is my creative capacity in it as the divine? Okay? That depends on how much you've been practicing. If you fall off your rocker every time something small happens, then something big is going to happen and you're going to be knocked off your rocker there also. So we need to practice this expanded way of being, okay? Number one, you're in traffic, you're cutting up. You're contracting because somebody cut you off. If you had your divine mindset on, you would realize that things happen for a reason. And you're not the only one that's important here. That person is trying to get somewhere. And you remember all the times you've been trying to get somewhere and cut somebody off. You understand this is the lay of the land. You're not going to let that knock you off your rocker because somebody cut you off. Expand, honey. We're talking about practicing this expanded awareness. I'm going to bring it home to conflict resolution, but I got to set a firm foundation first, because some of y'all just be letting anything knock you off your rocker, knock you off your pivot. Your whole day is ruined because somebody cut you off or went too slow in the traffic, because somebody had a negative opinion, or somebody had a face they made, or somebody had an attitude. So you forgetting who you are. I can't believe they said that about. Believe it. They're free to. But you don't know who you are. That's why you're falling out about that. So I got to remind you who you are. You need to come back into expansion and understand that you thrive in uncertainty. All right? You must remember, right, is the law of pure potentiality. You need to remember all the laws, but I'm giving you some relevant ones today. And I really want to do a course on universal laws. Because if you don't know universal laws, how are you resonating with them with intention? It's a hit or miss thing for you. But if you know the universal laws, then you know what you can alchemize and how you can shift and move things for a healthier and a happier life. But it's like trying to play a board game and you don't know the rules. You live in a whole time space reality and you don't know the rules. So I'm about to give you the lay of the land, right? In a real basic way. And then if you want to go deeper, we can do a course. Y'all on board? Have a good day, Tree. My audience is full of people like me. Cosmic beings who understand that there's so much more. There's so much depth. There's so much else that we can't see. And we're after the expansion, okay? The law of pure potentiality, right? It says a lot of things, but the thing I want to focus on is the fact that you got to know this, okay? You have to know this to understand that you thrive in uncertainty. Let's say you have 2 points, A and B, on a timeline. Time A, time B. Between time A and time B, an infinite amount of things can happen. Those things can be beautiful, those things can be challenging, those things can be something neutral, but this could go any kind of way between time A and time B. An infinite amount of things is possible. Number one, that's leading you into an expanded awareness. Because when you get in a hard time or a conflict, you get contracted. And you go, I can't see how this is going to work out. It might go bad. And you're thinking about the worst case scenario and the best case scenario. And that's only 2 out of an infinite number of ways. If you don't know what infinite means, it means limitless. So you see right away when there's some kind of conflict, you can track down onto 2 options. Going perfect and not. But you need to remember this can go an infinite amount of ways. That's number 1. Yeah? Number 2 is that even though there are an infinite amount of ways, right? An infinite amount of things are possible. But not all of them are likely. And only one thing can happen in a given moment. That's important. An infinite amount of things are possible. Not all of them are probable. That's what I should say. Let me reword that. An infinite amount of things are possible, but not all of them are probable, and only one thing is likely. I like how I said that. Let me say it again. There are an infinite amount of things that are possible. Not all of them are probable, and one of them is likely. What does that mean? The thing that happened, needed to happen, should have happened. Everything is as it should be, boiled down. Everything is as it should be. It's boiled down to everything is as it should be. Not as it should be according to how you see it. Because remember, you got some contraction in your mind. It's not how it should be according to your comfort. It's not how it should be according to your liking. Okay? But it is how it should be for your evolution. And I just told you, this whole life is about evolution. You got to repeat this to yourself over and over again, because you contract and you start forgetting and you start thinking that life is supposed to go the way that you think it. But we are in a time-space reality with an infinite amount of beings. It's not just humans. And all of us matter, and all of us play a role. So that makes sense why everything is not going to be going the way you think it should, but it always will be going the way that it should. The universe is not a human with a brain, with any morality, and obviously the universe is not concerned about your or my comfort. Now, there's some variables in there, but I'm laying a foundation. Because when you experience conflict, number one, you lose sight of the infinite amount of ways things can go. You forget that you thrive in uncertainty. You forget that you are unlimited creativity. You forget that everything as it should be for your evolution. You forget. I'm here to remind you. Because you start focusing on your discomfort, and because it hurts, you think it's not supposed to be like that. Because it's not going the way that you envision in your mind, you think it's not supposed to be like that. But it is supposed to be, because it is. And I didn't design the universe, okay? So I'm not sitting here talking only to you. It goes for me as well. I'm applying this to my life every single day. When I sit down and I feel uncomfortable about something, afraid of something, in anxiety about something, heavy about something, these are the thoughts I'm thinking. I'm allowing it. I'm not passing over it, washing over it, suppressing it. I'm allowing it, and I am talking to it from my divine nature. So you have to remember these things in order to resolve conflict between you and people. You got to remember who you are first, what you are, right? And how this universe operates. If that makes sense, say yes. But whenever I'm in conflict with a person who doesn't understand these things, I already know it's about to be a wild ride. I already know it. Because when they contract, sometimes it's you. When you contract and you don't know how to come back into expansion, you cannot resolve the conflict. A person who doesn't believe that everything is as it should be deeply is going to be regretful, resentful, avoidant. They're going to say things like this: I shouldn't have never said nothing. I should have just kept it to myself. They're going to say stuff like that. Maybe that's you. That's because you forget that everything is as it should be. And because you forget that, you can't even get to the bottom of that conflict. They say things like this: oh, see, next time I'm just not going to do it. I shouldn't even said, yeah, I shouldn't have came. I should have just went my own way. Ugh. And they be mad. Maybe that's you, because you forget. I know that when I'm talking to a person, they start saying stuff like that, we about to resolve next to nothing in that moment. I got to ask myself, is it even worth the conversation? So I got questions to ask them to see how open they are. I've had people, we've had hard conversations and they would shut down and be like, this, let me say this. I've heard several people say this, okay? They've said it to me. I've heard people in coaching sessions say it. I've heard my friends say it over time. They get in some kind of dilemma, some kind of situation, and they go, it just don't pay to be honest. I should have just lied. I should have just did this. And I just be like, I should just go back to being for the streets. I'm just going to go back to dogging people out. I'm just going to go back to being petty. This is what I get for trying to be the bigger person. Next time if that's what you think you need to go to, do it. Of course, if I'm in a coaching session, we handle that differently and I see it differently. I have compassion when I'm in my coaching session. You just uttered that foolishness with conviction. I'm just going back to not trusting people. You don't have any clue who you are, what your power is. You don't understand that going back to what you were in a contracted state is really hurting you. You will hurt yourself to spite someone else. Can't resolve nothing with you. When you will hurt yourself to spite somebody else, that's problematic. You're part of the problem. When you will hurt yourself, you really want to talk to the person, but you ain't calling them because they said this. You will hurt yourself to spite someone else. It's a problem. You contract. If you remembered your identity as divinity, divine energy expressed as you wouldn't be saying nothing like that. And if you're coming to realize your divinity, you might have said it, and as soon as it came out of your mouth, you would have heard the lack of resonance and sucked it back in like, let me take that back. That ain't right. But because you are totally unconscious of who you are, you said that, and you said it with conviction. Like it was going to hurt somebody more than it's hurting you to be contracted and not resonating with your true nature. Is that how you resolve conflict? I shouldn't have just said that. I should have just be quiet. You don't believe that everything is as it should be. You don't believe that you need to evolve in this. You don't believe that. So somebody's going to have to run behind you and be like, no, don't say that. No, they're going to have to just let you be. And to be honest, when you're in that state of being, you will argue. Hey, Quinn, you will argue. No, I shouldn't have said nothing. I regret opening my mouth. And the person would be like, no, you should have. No. You will argue. You don't want to resolve conflict because you don't know who you are. You want to contract. That contraction gives you a false sense of power and control. And you rather power and control than expanded vulnerability. What is vulnerability? Vulnerability is not crying and bearing your soul to someone. That's not what vulnerability is. Okay? Because some of y'all create conflict by saying, I was vulnerable and you didn't know what to do with it. Can we talk about what vulnerability is real quick? Because we're talking about how to resolve conflict. Vulnerability is not, oh, I just told you all my emotions. That's not. Right. Just, I know we're not going to resolve that with that. I should have. We're not. Because we don't have the same mind or a similar one. I'm going to glean my lessons. I'm going to resolve it within myself. All right. Vulnerability. Let me give you a simple definition of vulnerability so y'all can stop creating problems in your relationships and see what really is going on. We're still talking about expanded awareness. I'm going into some subtopics, okay? Vulnerability is knowing yourself and having the courage to make yourself known, even though you know you could be judged positively or negatively. Hey, Alan, I'm going to say that again. Vulnerability is knowing yourself and making yourself known, even though you know you could be judged positively or negatively. You're not looking for validation, so the judgment doesn't scare you or stop you. That's vulnerability. You know that you might be judged, but you share it anyway for the sake of being known, not for the sake of being understood necessarily, not even for the sake of being comforted, for the sake of being known. I want you to know this about me. And I'm brave enough to ask you what you think. What do you think about that? And you're free to share what you think. That is creating intimacy and vulnerability within a relationship. When you are sharing from an emotional center and you're fearing judgment and you just don't want anyone to judge you and you're so fragile with that, you are seeking validation. And there are spaces where you should seek validation. But I just don't want you to confuse validation and vulnerability. I don't want you to confuse that. When you have not self-validated, then you're going to want others to validate your experience. And that makes you fear judgment because they might not. That makes you fear judgment. And if you fear judgment, you are not moving in vulnerability in the sense that will create intimacy. Does that make sense? Because intimacy is about integrity and authenticity to self in a shared space. So if I can't even have my opinion about what you just shared because you might fall out, then we're not creating intimate space. We're creating space where you can get validated. But that's not intimate space. And it doesn't allow the other person to be open. So then when they don't tell you what they really think, they just hold it in and they validate you. And later on, you find out that they feel the way, then you want to get mad. You should have said something. Why you didn't say it when, well, you were more interested in validation than intimacy. That's why. Okay? I'm trying to help you understand some concepts so you can see yourself where you are and whether or not you are the type of being that can resolve conflict. And it begins with knowing who you are, what you are, and how things go. Let me go back to that situation real quick. Let's say you did find yourself in a situation. Hey, Shani. Let's say you found yourself in a situation where you were seeking validation. Let's say that. Okay? If you are practicing these concepts, once the person judges you, you're going to feel something like, oh, that hit me. Then you can say to yourself, I needed that. We're talking about people who know that they are the divine expressed in the human form. And so I can accept that I needed that discomfort just now, but I'm not going to say it like this. I needed that to know who you really are. Oh, your true colors are... No. I needed that for my evolution because it just alerted me, made me aware of something inside of me that I really needed to know. So I get it. If you were practicing these concepts, that's what it would look like. I needed that. Thank you for sharing your feedback. Let me think about it. And I'll get back to you. Thank you. I'm feeling a way inside, but it's not because of what you said. I needed you to say what you said. I just need some time. Not, see, that's why I don't share with anybody now, because people always. So the question I'm sending out is, are you the type of person who can really handle conflict? Or are you upgrading? Are you becoming more able? Would you like personal help? If so, one-on-one coaching, my website. Are you, self-assess? Do I do some of these things? If so, what needs to shift? You contract into, see, I shouldn't have said nothing. The reason you feel like that is because you're not self-validated. And you were looking for validation and you didn't get it. People, let me tell you something. People are not obligated to validate your experience. They're not. You want them to go against what they feel and what they think just to validate you? Or do you want authenticity? Let me tell you, if you want validation because you're very soft and sensitive inside, you're going to need to find a friend who can handle it. You need to find a friend who can handle it. You need to find a coach, a therapist, a spiritual worker, where you can be validated. You deserve that. But you need it in that space. Your fears will be sabotaging the intimacy that you really want. Expanded awareness, that's what we're talking about here. So we see what expanded awareness is not, and I gave you an example of what it could look like. Somebody says something, it hits you, you acknowledge, ouch. I needed that. I needed that for my evolution. Now, if you don't know what to do with it, you're going to feel like, no, I didn't need that. This is why I come on and I teach strategies on what to do with your emotions and how to move through conflict. Okay? I can't teach everything on this live because I don't have unlimited hours to do it. But if you need some personal help, then sign up for a coaching session. All right. So you have this contracted and expanded awareness. So I'm going to add one more piece to this, and then I'm going to call the teaching to a close. All of the things that I just mentioned are of the utmost importance, and you need to practice it. All right. So whenever a problem happens, you have the choice. As soon as you feel the hit, as soon as you perceive the dilemma, you have a choice to go into contracted awareness or expanded awareness. When you go into contracted awareness, you fuss about the problem. You talk about the problem and you want to fix the problem. Let me tell you what that looks like. Let's say two people go into a club. They're going to have a good time. One person goes to the bathroom and starts talking, holding a conversation with someone as they're waiting. The other person turns around, sees it, and sees that they exchange numbers. When the person comes from the bathroom to sit down back at the bar, there's a problem. I saw you get that number. I saw you do this. I saw you do that. That's the problem. I have a problem with what I saw. Okay? If you go into contraction, you're going to keep talking about that. One person is going to defend. One person is going to accuse. That's how it usually goes. Because the person who has the problem is already contracted. Now they're going to create a contracted situation where intimacy is very difficult, where there's going to be some turbulence and some very hard conversations and agreeing to disagree. That's what's going to happen. That's the lay of the land. They're going to fuss about what the contracted person didn't like. And then the other person is going to either defend or they're going to shut down and be like, look, believe what you want. Or they're going to defend. No, it wasn't like that. They blah, blah, blah. They're going to go back and forth. Yes. Do you see that? That's contracted awareness. I believe if you wanted to do this, you should have contracted awareness, okay? They're going to stay on the level of the problem, fuss about the problem, defend the problem, agree to disagree on the problem. Hey there. They're contracted. They're not going to resolve that conflict. It's going to go in the bucket till the next time. Have y'all ever done that before? Yes. The answer is yes. Just type yes, because you have. We all have. I don't have an affinity for staying on the level of the problem any longer. I don't. Because I know it's not the real problem. Okay, problem. What is in the undercurrent is, number one, person A feels that something should have went away that it shouldn't have. And that person contracted before they could talk about it or open space for intimacy. That's part of the issue. Another part of the issue is when the person comes back and defends. They don't understand that the real problem is not what just happened, so they start defending on the level of the problem. But if that were me in a coaching session with these two people, I would examine belief systems. What do you believe about love? Because that's what triggered you. You saw something outside of yourself that didn't resonate with something on the inside, and you wanted it to be true for another person, and it wasn't. Y'all need to talk about that. Okay? You believe that your ideals extend to other people in every situation. You expect them and assume that they're thinking like you're thinking, and you expect them to act like you think they should act, because you say stuff like this. See, if that was me, I would have done this. Well, that's you. You don't have a firm sense of autonomy. It also tells me that there's a need to learn how to create intimacy. I mean, move through a situation in a way that is like a dance. It's flowing, it's smooth, and we come out with something that we're both happy with. That's expanded. Contracted is, we're going to keep fussing about this. I'm going to keep defending. You know what? Believe what you want. Or, I know I'm not stupid. That's going to lead to the demise of the relationship, the degeneration of intimacy, if it was ever there in the beginning. But it takes you to understand, and I'm leaving with this, that your contracted awareness is going to make you fuss about the problem, the facts about the problem, the feelings about the problem, but that ain't the real problem. The undercurrent is the belief systems that are conflicting. And if we can find out where our belief systems conflict, then perhaps we can create a space for both belief systems. That's only going to come from expanded individuals, though, because anybody contracted is not going to want to hear that. I don't care what you tell me. You shouldn't have. That's what they're going to be saying. They're not going to be able to examine a belief system together. They're not going to be able to breathe into, you know what, this is necessary for us to evolve. I like that this happened. They're going to say, I shouldn't have went with you. I knew I shouldn't have. They're going to resort to all that. Does that make sense? Anytime you decide that shutting down communication was better, anytime you are trying to avoid a challenge by suppressing, nothing's going to get resolved. Nothing at all. Okay, does that make sense, y'all? So I'm done.